Alive. Okay. Well, so good evening, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you might be and watch. This is Ask Me Any question with the CEO, and today we are fortunate to be here with George Nchibuesiako, and we are going to discuss pivoting, why startups need to pivot at some point in the process that they need to go through to do this. It's going to be a fireside chat, so very informal, but we are hoping that it's going to be very educative for all of us. I will be asking a series of questions, but please feel free, because it's a fireside chat. If you have a question, you can just unmute yourself and ask, or you can just raise their electronic hand and we shall call you. If you are at a place where you cannot speak, please feel free to put the question or the contribution you have into the chat box, and we are definitely going to read that out and respond to it. Now, George, you are most welcome.
Thank you, Gideon.
Very good. Good to have you here. So we'll give you the next 1 minute to do a proper introduction of yourself.
All right. Thank you, and thank you to all of you who have made it to join this call. I deem it a very great honor to be part of this chat. I believe as entrepreneurs, as business owners, as CEOs, as managers of various businesses, it's important that at a point we meet like this, share ideas and know ourselves. And I believe that is what is actually going to help us to move ahead in our respective endeavor. As he said, my name is George Nchibuesiako. I'm a business development coach and also a youth mentor. And I also manage a hub, Agrico Hub, located in Chimambono East region. And I also work with the government of Ghana as with the local government service, so to speak, as assistant budget analyst. So I'm a budget analyst by profession as well. And I also happen to be a member of the Ghana Hubs Network, and I'm a member of the board as director in charge of finance. And I also have here with me my senior and mentor in the Hubs management, Hubs running industry, that is senior Gideon. And I welcome all of you, and I'm happy to be here. I believe you're going to share a lot of insights and thoughts. So thank you very much, Senior, for
Yeah, George, thank you very much. And we are also happy to have you here, being somebody that is well-grounded in the startup ecosystem in Ghana. We are going to discuss the topic about pivoting. Now, let's start this way. Well, because you are operating in the startup ecosystem, how does the space look like in the Ghanaian economy, the startup space? Hello, George.
Sorry, I think I was muted. Thank you.
Okay.
So like I was saying that for me, I'm not very impressed with the level of startups we have here in Ghana, especially maybe because of where I'm located, or of course the people that I interact with. I'm saying this because I think though we are trying, startups are trying their best to actually run businesses, but I see that most of the businesses that we have, most of the startups that we have are small. Like we are small in nature in terms of the size of our capital, in terms of the size of our reach. Like I could see that a lot of people are doing things, but in a very minute way, in silos, in small ways. And for me, that is what I have seen about startups here, mostly especially in the south, middle to the northern part of the country, even up to the south, which is Accra and its areas. Yes, we have some startups that have done so well, but sometimes you want to have a startup that is running a business that is worth, let's say, $10,000 or $20,000, $50,000, $100,000, $1 million. We are not getting them. And for me, it's a worry for me because I believe with the kind of talent that we have and and how smart and intelligent the Ghanaian youth are, I believe the startup ecosystem, for me personally, I think we are not doing so much. We are doing well. We are trying, but the rate at which we are growing for me is quite slow. Yes, there are a lot of factors to this, but I want to challenge us as a people. I'm somebody who always want to push people to do big things, and I think we are not doing big stuff, and that is how I see things. But as that notwithstanding, there's also another thing that I've seen about startups, that most of the startups have the passion to run businesses, but what it takes for us to run successful businesses, most people do not have. So you said sometimes certain basic things that a startup should know and should have. You meet them, some of them have been in business for like 5 years, 3 years, 4 years, 6 years, even 10 years. And they are doing certain basic mistakes that will not help them to be able to actually move their businesses to some higher level. And these are things that I have seen. Yes, issues of capital, how people will raise capital. Even that I have an issue because most businesses are not investor ready. Some of them are not investor ready to even get funding as high as even 100,000 Ghana cedis. So these are, I believe, basic things that I think with organizations like Hyperspace, Agrico Hub, and the various hubs across the country, we will look at them and see how we address them. But in general, I can see a lot of the young people trying to go into entrepreneurship, trying to build businesses, the various innovations that people are bringing up and all that are quite impressive. But I believe we can still do more, and we should do more so that maybe one day George will say that, oh, I was doubting our ability to scale higher, but now we are there. So that's what I will say with respect to the how I see the startup ecosystem as of now in Ghana. Because I remember recently when we were doing the Ghana Hackathon, we taught almost the whole of the country. I was part of the team to Damango, to Tamale, to Takrade, to Kumasi. Kumasi at Hyperspace, but I was at National Hackathon. And I realized that the startups are there, but you meet them and the vim and what is behind them is not too encouraging. So that is how I see things, and I believe, but I see the light at the end of the tunnel. So we will make it.
George, did you get muted? I think you were cut off.
Wow. Which point or which level did you?
It was just at the final. It was just at the final end. I don't know. So
yeah. So at the final end.
Please go on.
All right. So at my concluding statement, I was saying that, recently we were doing this hackathon project under the Ghana House. And I happened to be part of the team. We went around the country, meeting startups, meeting innovators. And I think that one also emphasized on the point I was raising earlier, that we are not doing, like, the businesses are not that big enough, and that most of them are not investor ready. You could see the passion and the drive is there in the heart of the people. They want to do it, but what it takes to get there at that high level, we are still not there. And that's what I was saying to buttress my earlier point. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing that. They are interesting points, and we'll come back to see how can these problems be addressed. Okay. that's a whole big conversation that we can have. Now let's get into the details of today's topic, like pivoting. I think that most of us have learned about pivots, okay, in our integrated science, and we use pivot in our English terms. But when we talk about pivots in the startup space, what are we referring to? George, you are muted.
Sorry. Okay, thank you very much. I'm a type of student that is not very theoretical, so I'll go the more practical way. So when we talk of pivoting in the business environment, we are looking at a business that's at a point you want to, let me use the word, you want to switch from your core activities, your core operation to an area that you think you'll be able to maximize your productivity. So it means that the business may still exist, but at a point, the business may even change their main product line. They may even change their brand. They may even change their name, but it is still the same core business with the same business vision and mission. Yeah, so that is about pivoting. That's at a point you realize that for one or two reasons, you want to switch a bit to other areas that will help you to be able to maximize your productivity. That's then you want to pivot. So you switch your resources, you switch your energies, you switch your attention a bit to some area that you think will help you to maximize the productivity that you have as a business. And that, in that sense, you are pivoting.
Thank you very much for that explanation. But that brings me to my follow-up question, that now we see some startups, right, trying to handle a number of things in the same value chain. What do you say about that? If a startup is trying to solve so many problems at the same time, even though they might be within the same value chain?
I think at a point, it's important that this conversation is happening. Yeah, because in my search, I encountered a number of business developers. I was asking them what's pivoting and have you thought of maybe exposing the people that you are coaching to the idea of pivoting? And oh, Charlie, this is quite a gray area. We have not thought of it so much, but I realized that at every point in time, your energy is not so much. No matter who you are, you cannot do so much. You can do but a little. So at every point in time, you need to find a way to consolidate the strength that you have so that you'll be able to maximize your let me then use the word productivity. You'll be able to maximize the usefulness of your organization. But you see startups, and it's like we are always chasing. When we know that this place is good, it's profitable, it's rewarding, then we try to move there. We see now e-commerce is good and they move there. This is good and they move there. At every point in time, you are dividing your energy, and as long as you continue to divide your energy, you are not as strong as you may think you are. There are some people, they have some brand image, and instead of them building on that brand and grow it, they emphasize or they take advantage of that, and that's a brand that they have, and they will over duplicate themselves. So you will see them doing so much, but they are not achieving so much. And in that sense, they don't become very competitive. And that has been the challenge of focusing on specific things that they are so strong in doing. They try to duplicate themselves. So, pivoting, like we are talking about, is not about duplicating yourself, but it's a more of a strategic term. how you'll be able to channel your strength to an area that will help you to maximize your potentials. And that is what most of the businesses are lacking. So you meet a business and you can see that if you want to ask them what they do, they will tell you so much and they are achieving so little. So they are doing, if it, let's say it's a hub, they are doing acceleration, they are doing incubation, they are running their own, like a lot of things. Anything that they think a hub can do, they want to do it. So you enter there and you see that everything is scattered and they are not achieving so much. So that is something that I believe sometimes it hunts a lot of startups, and you see that the person has been in that business for a very long time, but because they are not consolidating their energy, they split themselves and they are not able to achieve greater feats in whatever they are doing.
Right. Thank you so much, George. So now we know that the need to pivot might result from the changes in the industry, probably because of new directions in customer preferences, or any other thing that might happen within the space where we are operating. Now, how does a startup identify these changing trends or needs and be able to pivot?
Yeah, thank you very much. Like I mentioned, at any point in time, if you are a startup, you should focus on your core competencies. I'm an economist, so let me bring some basic economic terms. Like you need to have your scale of preference, but this time it's not about preference, but your scale of competencies, so that you know what you can do best. And at a point, you have to also know, by extension, in what areas can you extend your core competencies to. Then you should also know, or you should be sensitive to the environment within which, or the ecosystem within which you are operating. Because in terms of what really triggers startups or businesses to pivot, sometimes it's out of maybe competition. Sometimes it's out of, let me say, maybe whilst you are running your business, let's say you are into supply of, maybe you are into delivery of products. And at a point, though you are delivering food, but you realize that you are delivering all kinds of product because you are into delivery, but you are able to deliver food and you get so much returns than any other product that you are delivering. Then you also realize that within your business, maybe you have some small restaurant that at a point, even a day that you were not able to get the orders from other people, you were able to cook yourself to deliver, and the people and the customers are not complaining. Then you have something to do with the cooking industry, the food industry. So in pivoting, you may want to concentrate on cooking your own food and delivering it, because you have a strength in delivery. So in that sense, if you think the entire delivery ecosystem is pushing you out, the fact that you can have that niche in the cooking, and the fact that you are also having that strength in delivering food, it can help you to concentrate on it, research more, and you'll be able to divert into maybe the food industry while you are also doing your own delivery as well. It's a way you can pivot to one direction. So, like I said, before you decide to even want to pivot, first of all, you have to do that diagnosis of yourself. What is your core competencies? And then you have to be also sensitive to the environment within which you are operating. And then you have to also get feedback from your clients or your customers. Sometimes most businesses pivoted because of the feedback that they were getting. Sometimes it's bitter feedback, the negative feedback that they are getting from people. Let me give this example, so that if at a point we are going deeper into pivot, you know that you are not the only business that may want to pivot. Instagram pivoted, YouTube pivoted, Airbnb, Flickr, and other businesses they pivoted to get to wherever they are, because at a point they became sensitive. They became sensitive to their customers' feedback. They became sensitive to the environment within which they were operating. And based on that, they were able to move into different areas that not necessarily did not change their core competencies, but it helped them to be able to maximize their strength in some gray areas within their industry that they never emphasized on at the beginning of their business journey.
Thank you so much. That's a lot of nuggets in there. And now, it's good that you mentioned that some companies pivoted without shifting away from their core values. Now, every business comes up with a mission, right, or a vision, and then they have their core values.
Yes,
just for emphasis, does the fact that I need to pivot means that I need to throw away my vision and then start something all anew? Is that what pivoting means?
So that is what pivoting is, a strategic term. You then, once the decision comes that you want to pivot, it means that at that point you need to bring together all your strengths. And in business, your strength, your resources, your human resource, your financial resource, your material resources, and even your social capital, which is the networks that you have. So you have to look within. First of all, you don't have to change your ancient landmark. For instance, if tomorrow all of a sudden you hear that I'm into football business, I don't have to be in football business and that business is not linked to the hub business. At least that business that you are known for, you should leverage on that business so that you'll be able to pivot into other areas that your foundation will not change. If you are pivoting and your foundation is changing, then you are not pivoting. You are actually diverting, you are actually doing something new. So in pivoting, you have to look within the resources that you already have, even your vision, even your mission. How are you going to transfer your vision and your mission to that new area that you are pivoting to? Because, for instance, if Hyperspace want to do something in a way, if let's say Hyperspace want to pivot, people will still want to follow Hyperspace because of the brand they have. So even just that brand alone will help Hyperspace to drag along their clients that they have been dealing with. So let's say that the client knew that you were into enterprise support, but now you are going into, let's say, software development full-time. They will still follow you, and you have to find a way to get them follow you to that new area that you are pivoting to. So in pivoting, you don't risk your resources. And I have mentioned the kind of resources that I am emphasizing on. You don't have to risk them. You have to look within the one that will be more vital and relevant to the new area that you are pivoting. So if you look at the various organizations that I mentioned that they are pivoted, like Twitter. Let me say Twitter because I'm a guy. The ladies will have a way of pronouncing it. But you see that they pivoted. But as they pivoted, they didn't change so much. But they actually upgraded what they were doing.
So what did they do to pivot?
All right. So let me get to the Twitter's style of pivoting. So at a point, they were into. You used to call people Twitter. I don't know if any of you is aware. They used to call audio. That's ODEO. So that was the original name for Twitter. And then so they were into podcasts, like this podcast platform where people upload audios and then you want to follow. I'm sure Senior Gideon might be having a podcast. If you don't have it, you need to have it, so we'll be following you. So that was the kind of business that they were doing. But at the point, Apple came with iTunes, and you know the kind of competition Apple can give to a small business that is also into this podcast business. They will download. You can go there and download tunes, and you can see the number of tunes that I use at time. So the team at Twitter, they came together and they were brainstorming. So during the brainstorming, let's say at Hyperspace, the team are having that brainstorming. So maybe everybody should be in the house. Let's think about something new that we can do to actually transform the audio business. Then what happened was that when you have your idea, you bring it up on a platform so that everybody will see. So as I get an idea, I bring it up. Then another person also gets idea, they bring it up. Then they realize that, oh yes, so it means that at a point we can share these short thoughts of ideas that will actually help us to move. Then they got the concept of Twitter in 2006. So 2006, Twitter came to being just because a business was on the verge of collapsing. So you could see that one of the even reasons that propels organizations or businesses to actually pivot is competition. So Twitter actually had this beautiful business that is now $19 billion worth just because a business decided to pivot and they were looking within what they can do differently. And that is the story of Twitter.
Good. Thank you for elaborating on that for us. So we don't change our core values because we want to pivot. Neither do we change the vision of the business. So for instance, I think that using the sports idea might make things very clear for most people on the call that Agrico Hub and Hyperspace, we are there to support entrepreneurs, right? And we are there to help people to build business models around their talents. So for instance, if Hyperspace recognizes that there are a lot of sports people in our community, and most of them, the problem that they are facing, their pain point, is that they don't understand the business around their talents. That's their footballing. And so probably we are now going to run a whole cohort of a training program for them to know how to even select their personal managers, how they can negotiate with their football teams and stuff like that. Even though now we are doing such trainings for sports people, we have not deviated from our core business of helping people build businesses around their talents. George, does this summarize what you were talking about pivoting?
Yes, and I think it's a classical example of Instagram. That was then Burbn, BURBN. That was Instagram. So at a point, they want people to discover their favorite spots. Like, oh, I'm at Hyperspace, and I share images to show that I'm there. And now it just that story. You could see that if even Instagram was Burbn, it's still the same imaging, showing images at locations and all that. So pivoting is like that. You actually want to maximize the vision. Of course, you wanted to build capacity. So you can extend to areas that you can still build capacities and then it fits into your vision or mission as a business. So that is in order. That's it.
Thank you so much. Now, those on the call, right? If any of you feel that it's time for you to pivot, or there are some questions you want to ask, this is an opportunity for you to ask, right? So feel free. to either share your questions or comments in the chat, or raise your hand and you shall be called, or just unmute yourself and ask your question. So now, George, coming back to you, and before anyone asks a question, do you think that there are some startups in our startup space across Ghana that really need to pivot but are not doing it?
All right, I think this is a very loaded question, but I think in simple terms, I would say it's a yes and it's a no. Because before you want to pivot, the coaches will tell you that do it as soon as you can, else wait. And then also you have to be sure of where you are pivoting to, so that you not go and crash. And then know your strategy in the area that you are pivoting to. Yes, of course, we have to first of all know the changing needs of our consumers before you even make a decision to pivot. And then also you have to look at the long-term nature of your vision, or let me say that your vision in terms of your long-term vision and mission. If what you want to go into wouldn't cause you to deviate. But of course, in the generic term, I wouldn't say it's time for us to pivot, because now pivoting is happening, but at wrong motives, and the timing are not so right. You know, a lot of business now, you meet somebody who is running, let's say the person used to run a computer training center. Then the next day you ask the person will say, I'm running a hub. You meet somebody who was into, maybe the person is even having a private school. The next day you ask the person, he said, I'm running a hub. You meet somebody who was a graphic designer. The next day the person says, I'm running a hub. So it's like, we people are trying to kind of pivot, but with wrong motives, with
just
wrong
following the
strategy, and yes, following trend. And Ghana, a lot of businesses try to pivot and they crash because it was not calculated. The timing was not right. Like I said, if you want to do it as soon as possible or wait. So if you know that as soon as possible because you are well ready and well prepared. I remember Agrico have pivoted because the organization originally was a private consultancy business. But the vision behind what we were doing, even as a private consultancy, was that we wanted to serve more clients than we can. And we were not NGO, so we want to charge. And really, the people that we are serving, they can't pay what the service that we are rendering. So you are forced to run as an NGO. Meanwhile, you are not. So at that point, then we pivoted into the NGO space. You understand? Of course, Hub originally is an NGO. It's a social enterprise. But now we are even fighting to have a full-blown act that guides social enterprises in Ghana, so that we can then say that we are a social enterprise. Else, most of the hubs, or almost all the hubs, are running non-governmental organizations, NGOs, so to speak, not for profit, but they are making profits, NGOs. So, but I'm using the Agrico Hub story of pivoting. So we pivoted into this sector of hubs, but our style didn't change, and as of now, our style hasn't changed. We are still operating as a consultant, so we do a lot of consultancy activities, and we appear as a consultancy organization because that is our fundamental strength. You understand? So pivoting is right, but it should be timely, and you should be able to weigh your strategy. You should be able to know the area that you are pivoting into. You don't need to follow people before you want to pivot, but you should know and understand the new area that you are pivoting into. And I think if you do that, you will achieve a lot, because you will not struggle. You don't need to go and struggle when you pivot into an area. For instance, when we pivoted into the hub industry, we didn't struggle because we knew how to interact with startups. We knew how to interact with partners, stakeholders. So we knew the ecosystem, we knew the industry, we knew where we were operating and how we were operating. So things became so easy for us. But maybe your story may not be like that. You don't have to follow industry, you don't have to follow trends, but you have to follow trends based on your strength and how you can be able to perform better in that new venture that you want to pivot into. So your question, like I said, I can't give a yes and no answer, but it depends on the business, depends on the vision, and depends on their core competency and how they can excel when they pivot into a new area. Thank you.
Thank you once again, George. So in a summary, if you need to pivot, it should be quick and timely, right? And do not just
quick and timely.
Do not just follow trends blindly. Like, oh, now Hub business is selling, so I have a Hub, and we say that, oh, okay, now everybody is selling this kind of thing, and it is moving. No, you might not have the resources. Remember that George said at the beginning that you should be able to do resource matching to the pain points of your customers or the industry, and then you can pivot around it. So be sure you have the right resources. And once you identify that you have the right resources and you've been able to identify the pain points of customers that you can serve, then you either do it very quick, or if you are very slow at it, wait until the time is right for you. Dajene has a question for you, George. He's saying that, there is that adage that jack of all trades is master of none. But he's asking that in business, what is wrong with being jack of all trades whilst you can make money from all of them? And when you piece them together, you are a rich man.
Wow, that's a very interesting question. Somebody, I think, when it comes to being a jack of all, like doing more things, don't follow that one too. I would say don't follow trend, because let's take a business like Josfon Group. They have almost about 60 businesses with different trade areas. If you take this not multimedia, the Despite Group, they are into different, they have different companies under them. But you see, this is what happened. They didn't start all of them at the same time. They started one, Zoomlion, Josfon started Zoomlion, and they made sure that they are grounded with that business. Then they stood there and they pivoted into other areas. Who remembers Suba? That Brazilian, it was something that has to do with elections. That company was for Zoomlion. They have printing company, they have a bank, they have insurance, they have all those businesses. But you see, they were moving one at a time because they were weighing their resources. So now, if they want to say they want to start whatever, they want to start a football club, they are grounded. Their resources, if they take, let's say, 5% of their resources to go and start a football club, they will succeed.
Yeah.
So the element of running multiple businesses, first of all, you have to know even your capital. If you want to divide your capital into 5, how much would one be? Let's say your capital is 5,000, let's say 50,000 cedis, and you divide it by 10. You have just 5,000 cedis, and you want to operate 10 businesses. So, in fact, before you want to become a jack of all trades, you want to pivot from one place to the other, leaving your original leg. You have to weigh the resources that you commit into that area. There are these successful ones that you see that have been running multiple businesses. Go and ask them the number of new businesses that they have started that have failed. Go and ask McDan. Recently, when he was launching his private jet business, look at the challenges that he had to go through. And now I don't know whether he has been able to do it. So being a jack of all trades, I cannot condemn it, but it's a step-by-step approach. You have to be grounded in one, so that you know that for this one is my cash cow. When I fall down, I'll come back to this business so that you can pivot to other areas. And by the time maybe you can have about 50 businesses. You look at somebody like Elon Musk. Elon Musk has a number of businesses. He started PayPal and other businesses, but now look at his core competence. You can know that, oh, this guy is into electric cars, but he has also a very high stake in Twitter and other businesses. But for us, you see the person in the capital, 1,000 cities, and so the business is here 10. So those are the things that I'm talking about. So that's in it. Becoming a jack of all trades, I will not condemn it, but you have to know your resources. Don't over duplicate your resources, else you will not be pivoting, but you'll be diverting, and by the time you realize you have no business. Thank you.
Right. So thank you so much. There is this adage. Let me see if I can loosely translate it into English. That if you rush into whitewashing your teeth, you only expose yourself to bleeding, right?
Okay.
They say, if it's preoccuped policy and moja neba. Yes. So be ready and prepared, right? Make sure that you have the right resources, whether human capital or other resources that are needed, and then you can expand. Growth is good, but if you just jump around, you also simply fall, and then maybe you break part of you that will be. Now, George, thank you so much for sharing these insights with us. Do you have any final words?
All right. I think I saw somebody was asking, when pivoting, do you have to also change your business model as well?
Yeah.
Any new line of business that you want to go into, you should have a business model for it. I think business model is basic. At least you know your customers, you know the resources that you need. Those are basic things that you should know. Even if it is, even if you're going to marry, you should have a business model for your marriage. So that's just on a light note. But I think my final words is that, first of all, as young people who want to enter into that difficult endeavor, which is entrepreneurship, running a startup, know your core competence, know what you are good at doing, and then study your environment, know the gray areas, the difficult areas, and then know the competition, the various competition around you. Do a very detailed SWOT analysis of that business that you are doing, and you'll be able to know areas that you can pivot. Pivoting is very good. It has been the game-changing experience for most of the businesses that we know. If you mention about 99% of the business that we see pivoted. At least KFC, the person pivoted from being a civil servant somewhere in US, then he became a seller of chicken, and now his recipe is all over the world. So pivoting is a very strategic move. But before you do that, know the environment, know your core competence, know yourself, and then also consider your vision, the vision and the mission of your organization. And I believe that when you do this basic introspection, when you pivot, people will see and look at it and clap for you. You'll be like maybe Airbnb, or you'll be like the various other businesses that I mentioned. And I think you will get there. Thank you very much, Senior.
Thank you very much, George. You shared the lots with us. Thank you for your insights. I don't know if, Prince, you have a question before we wrap up. Right. Okay. So, George, once again, thank you very much for your time. I'm sure as startups founders, we've picked one or two things to know that in pivoting, a lot has to be considered. Resources and all of that, the timing and all of that. And thank you very much for your time. Thank you, our dear audience, for joining us. And thank you for your questions. We'll be coming your way again next week with another edition of AME. And thank you very much. And have the best of the day.
Yeah, thank you very much. Douglas, how's your wife?
Very well, sir.
Hello, Douglas.
Yes, sir.
On a light note. Okay, thank you all of you.
All right. Okay.
All
Thank
right,
you.
all right. I'm much
Have a good
grateful.
evening.
I'm
Bye.
grateful for this wonderful time. You too. Bye.